What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope all you're having a great night so far. This is Grand Hotel, Season 1, Episode 8, Long Nights, Journey into Day. This episode was freaking amazing. This episode was intense. It was, so many twists and turns. Like I said before, you just can't trust anybody on this show. Everybody has an agenda. You just can't trust not one damn person. Even their own family members have some type of agenda to them. But getting into this episode, Danny is finding out more and more about his sister as the day goes by. More and more. Everything about Sky just wasn't on the up and up. He found out she was a lesbian, or she was having lesbian relations with Yoli. Then he found out she was a drug dealer. And he found out from this concierge that works at the hotel, what's his name, Topher or something like that. He's the local supply, basically. When people want marijuana or they want strippers and hookers or whatever they want, they go to Topher. I'm guessing that's his name, Topher. Little dorky looking kid. He's a real nerd. So they go to him whenever they want something. So Danny was under the impression that Sky was working with him. Come to find out, she wasn't really working with him. She wanted out of that. She was selling painkillers and stuff. And the person she was forced into selling painkillers to was Javi, of all people. So Javi basically was threatening Sky's job at the hotel for painkillers. She wanted out of that. See, we're learning more and more about her. She was affiliated with a lot of people. She was just doing a lot of stuff. Speaking of Javi, we got more and more into his background and what happened to him when he lost his leg and it got amputated. So we're getting more into the nitty gritty of that and why Santiago kept saying that it was his fault. So come to find out, Alicia and Javi had a great relationship with Gigi before she became their stepmother. Javi found out the day of his baseball game that his father was messing around with Gigi. I'm guessing this was shortly after their mother's death. And obviously Santiago was keeping it from Alicia. He was keeping it from Javi. And that's when Javi found out about it. And they didn't know that he knew at the time. Even when they were in the car and stuff like that, you could tell it was old. Because when Javi had the headphones on, he was listening to Soulja Boy Crank That. That was my song in high school. That's when Soulja Boy basically first got popping and stuff like that. So he was listening to Soulja Boy. And his father was telling him about a scout that was coming to the baseball game. And Javi was pissed because that was Santiago's opportunity in the car to tell him about him and Gigi. And Javi was like, is that all you got to tell me? And Santiago was like, yeah, that's all I got to tell you. His blood was boiling when Santiago did that. Because he gave him an opportunity to tell him the truth. And he refused to do it. He wouldn't tell him. So at the baseball game, he was pissed. He didn't want nothing to do with Santiago, nothing to do with Gigi. They were confused. They didn't know where the attitude was coming from. Gigi wanted to tell the kids. She kept telling Santiago, we got to tell them. We got to tell them. Santiago was the one that kept putting it off. So Santiago was at home waiting for Javi. He's been waiting all day for Javi to come home. Javi come home and he pissy drunk, stumbling all up the stairs and, just drunk out of his ass. Just drunk out of his ass. Straight up drunk. Just drunk as a skunk. So him and Santiago got into a blow-up fight. A major blow-up. And they both said some things, and Javi basically said that he wished that instead of his mother dying, he wished it was Santiago who died. I said, well, damn. That's the worst thing you could say to a parent. I don't care how bad the argument is. That's the worst thing that you can say. You never want to say something like that. I don't believe he said that on purpose. I think he said that just to hurt his father. I don't think he meant it. He just wanted to cut deep. Because when people when you're drunk or you're angry, you're really angry, you can say some things you're going to say something that will really hurt the person that you're arguing with. And when he said that, it just sent Santiago into this. You could tell Santiago was hurt when Javi said that. You could tell. He was very hurt, very angry. And he threw him the keys and told him to get out. Now, he knew his son was drunk. And his son got into an accident that night. That's what caused the amputation to his leg. That's why, for all these years, Santiago always carried that guilt. He always blamed himself for what happened to Javi because he knew his son was drunk and he still gave him the keys and told him to get out, which led to that accident. And he's forever carried that guilt since that night. He's always carried that. And of course, Alicia was not privy to any of this information. Alicia had no clue about Javi's drug problem. Santiago knew about his previous drug history. He knew. Because when they were in the hospital checking on Javi, after that whole balcony collapsed on him and Ingrid, the doctor basically told him that he's not receptive to the painkillers. He's not, receptive to it because he got a whole bunch of drugs in his system. And that was an eye-opener for Santiago because he's like, okay, my son's back on drugs. Alicia was so dumbfounded by it because she thought this was a first-time thing. Like, she thought it was just a one-time thing or whatever. Because Santiago never told her about his previous, addiction and stuff like that. Never told her. So when she went back to the hotel and stuff to go get Javi some clothes, she found a dresser. Like, she found so many pills in all of his dressers, his nightstand, like all his stashes of pills. Just a whole bunch of pills. And she threw them all in the duffel bag. When Javi got back to his hotel room, he was pissed because she done took all his pills. Like, he was still high. And he was, he was rolling up on Alicia like he was, aggressively, like he was going to swing. And it made Santiago, jump up and get in the middle of them and stuff like that because of the way he was acting. Like, you could tell he was high. The way, his attitude was. Because I've never seen him act like that with Alicia before. Like, he was real aggressive with her. So when Alicia left, Santiago basically told Javi that he was going to put him in rehab. And of course, Javi wasn't having it. He was like, no, I'm not going to rehab. I'm not doing that. So Santiago was like, you know what? You don't want to go? Okay, we're not leaving this room. So he locked the door and told Javi, we're going to stay in this room until, you decide to go to rehab and basically until you detox. He made him sit in that room all night and detox. Get all that junk and drugs out of his system. And you could tell when somebody detoxing because they were sitting there playing chess and Javi was sitting there sweating up a storm and he was detoxing and he was just going cold turkey. And I love that scene because Javi was just so hostile towards Santiago and he was just wondering why Santiago wanted to help him so bad. Because all these years, ever since that accident happened, he always felt like Santiago was ashamed of him because of his, amputated leg. Telling him to always put on some pants and stuff and don't be showing his leg and all that. But Santiago was being very honest with his son and letting him know, like, he's not ashamed of his son. He's ashamed of himself. That's why he always told him to put some pants on and cover it up, because Santiago didn't want to see it. Because it was a constant reminder of the guilt that he had for tossing those keys in Javi's hand that night. He felt like he's the reason that accident happened. And Javi never knew that. Javi was so drunk that night, he doesn't even remember his father tossing him the keys and, he doesn't remember much of that night. So that was news to him. They had a real come to Jesus moment. Like, they had a real ass moment. And I love Brian Craig just tore that scene up. He just tore it up. Like, both the actors just killed it. And it was such a real moment. And I don't blame Santiago for locking him in that room, because he didn't let him out that room because it just brought back memories of that night when he tossed them keys to him and let him leave. You know what I mean? And he'd be damned if he was going to let that happen again. That he wasn't going to do. He was like, I don't give a damn if we got to sit in this room all night. At least you're alive. See, that's some real parenting for your ass right there. And I think a lot of parents do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, you can't force your kids to get help. You can't force anybody to get help when they're an addict. You can't. They have to want it. They do. You know, they have to want it. But that was such a dope scene, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That scene, it's something that needed to happen. And I'm glad that him and, Javi sat there and they had that conversation. They just let it all out. I think that Javi not only needs rehab, I think he needs therapy. Because he's dealing with a lot. Like, he's definitely dealing with a lot because, he's still dealing with the loss of his mother. He's, he had to deal with that crash and his leg being amputated. Then he had to deal with the whole mess with Ingrid and her lying about him being the father of her kid. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a lot. I think he definitely needs some good therapy. And some good family therapy. Like, he definitely could benefit from it. The question is, will he do it? You know what I mean? It was a lot just to get him to go to rehab. So, you're going to have to wait on that therapy. So, anyway, moving on from that. Yoli and Carolina. Honestly, I have to be totally honest. I feel bad for Yoli and Carolina. Because Carolina was excited to see, their father, Felix. Yoli, on the other hand, was not all that excited to see him. She was giving him the cold shoulder majority of the time, and I can't say that I blame her. After she broke it down, I couldn't blame her. Because he was gone for some years. She was under the impression that he stole money, he this, he that. But he tried to explain it away and talking about, if he given some time, he could have fixed it. And Carolina was so gung-ho and so giddy about seeing him. I'm glad Yoli was cold towards him, as she should have been, because she broke down the reason why she was upset and why she wasn't all that enthused about seeing him. Because it was easy, because he tried to sit there and say, if your sister could forgive me, so can you. It's different for Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, Carolina had Gigi. Gigi coddled Carolina. She always played favorites. Carolina was always the favorite for Gigi. So she always had Gigi. Whereas Yoli, the only parent she could turn to was her dad. He was the only supportive one. You know what I mean? Like, he was the only, like a confidant. He treated her like she was beautiful, like she was the world, while her mother treated her like the ugly duckling. You know what I mean? So that's why she was upset for all those years that he missed out and he left. Because when he left, she had nobody. You know what I mean? So I don't blame her for lashing out. But when she finally, she told him about her being lesbian, because obviously Carolina was hinting around to it so unnaturally, being all unsubtle. Talking about something, let's be honest. I was like, Carolina, shut up. But she finally, told her father that she a lesbian and stuff. Well, she got a girlfriend and stuff like that. Her father wasn't surprised. He was like, because she always had a crush on her female teacher, so he wasn't shocked. I was hoping that Felix was on the up and up, but of course he wasn't. That was wishful thinking. Because some dude came to the door claiming to be an FBI agent. Come to find out, so he claimed to be an FBI agent looking for Felix. When they lied and said that they didn't see him, they came up with the idea because their father was claiming that, now he had to run, he had to leave, and they don't know when they're going to see him again. So they told him he could stay at the hotel at the Riviera Grand. I was like, that wasn't a good idea, because now y'all being messy. Y'all going to let y'all daddy stay at the same hotel that's owned by your stepfather and your mother. Really? Knowing how your mother feel about him. Y'all gonna hold him up at y'all family hotel? Really? I was like, y'all just being messy as hell. And come to find out, Felix hired that guy to pretend to be an FBI agent. So he playing some type of game. I was like, they father ain't shit. So basically, he was using Yoli and Carolina. My guess is he's probably using them to get back into good graces with Gigi or get closer to Gigi. He working some type of scam. Some type of scam he working. I was like, he trifling as hell. Like, your daughters have not seen you for years. They genuinely came to see you. and y'all finally, kind of make peace. Like you finally make peace with Yoli, and this is the type of bullshit that you pull. I was like, oh man. I feel bad for Yoli. Cause she opened up to that man. You know what I mean? Like she sat right there and poured her heart out to him, and he's sitting there using them. See, this is why Gigi was, didn't want them knowing where he was. And now I understand why. Because I said in my previous videos that it's up to them because they're adults. So it's up to them to want to see their dad. But now I understand why Gigi was hesitant about them knowing where he was and going to find him. Now I see why. His little crooked ass sitting there. How you use your own kids? Like, really? I can't wait. I hope Santiago or somebody beat the hell out of him. Like, seriously, I don't play that mess. Like, you ain't seen your kids in God knows how long, and then you pull this bullshit? Like, really? I would have stomped that man. Like, for real. I would have stomped him. Speaking of Santiago, real quick, I just want to say it was stupid of him to use Mateo to handle the whole situation with the Finn Hotel. That was stupid as hell. Why would you use him knowing he was gonna botch that? Talking about something, make sure you was supposed to make sure nobody got hurt. You should have never used him in the first place. You know he connected to dangerous people, so you should have known how he was gonna handle it. You should have known. Now your son got hurt, broke his collarbone, all because you want to be on some Wild Wild West gangsta bullshit, and now look what happened. It might have not only cost him, but it could cost Ingrid now too. You know what? Speaking of Ingrid, I really want to say, you know what? And I know a lot of y'all probably gonna attest to this. Throughout all of this season so far, I've been hard on that girl. I have been. I can admit that. I've been hard on her, and I said I didn't like her and stuff like that because of the shit that she was doing. But you know what? The more the season has gone by, the more I understand her motives and why she do what she do. And it's not out of malice. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't do what she do out of malice intent. She really doesn't. Now that I get to know her better, her character, I can understand her more. Now, don't get me wrong. What she did was still jacked up. Her sitting there trying to pass a baby off as somebody else's and lie and scheme. It wasn't right, but I kind of understand it. Because when she bumped into Javi, she told Jason the story about how she was with Javi the night of the hurricane. He was passed out or whatever. She heard about him and all these other girls. And she saw how basically he came from this lavish life. And he was basically taking it for granted. While she's sitting here struggling and stuff like that. And besides, Mateo didn't leave her no other choice but to lie and pin this baby on him. Because Mateo basically told her he was only going to pay for an abortion. He wanted nothing to do with her, that child. He didn't want no parts. So, and of course, she didn't want no abortion. And I could respect that. I can respect that. You know what I'm saying? She was, grown enough to lay there, let a dude, hit it, and she got pregnant. Then you be an adult and take care of your responsibilities. So I respect the fact that she wanted to keep that child. I can respect that. You know what I'm saying? I don't like how she tried to do it, pinning that child off on somebody rich, that she thought was rich. But I totally get it. It just seems to me like she comes from a family, like she wasn't loved in her family maybe. Or didn't receive enough love, because we don't even know where her family is, like, honestly, or if she even has any family around. And I respect it because she's struggling all on her own. You know what I'm saying? So imagine what would happen if she had a baby. You know what I mean? Like, the struggle would be real for her. Like, the struggle is already real. It's hard for her now by herself to make ends meet. Can you imagine her having this child without no financial support from the father? And it was kind of funny to me how all of a sudden Mateo want to step up talking about something, I'm the child's father. So it took a near-death experience for you to step your ass up and claim this child. That's all it took for you to step up? How selfish. How ignorant. Like, seriously, you should have did that the first damn day she told you she was pregnant. Instead, you were sitting there all arrogant and cocky, telling her basically that you'll pay for an abortion. But now when she damn near died, the baby damn near died, now you want to step up? Get the hell out of here. I have sympathy for her. I really do. I have sympathy for her. even Alicia apologized for going hard at her and stuff, blaming her for what happened to Javi, because once she found out that about his past addiction and stuff, she knew that his problems were way before Ingrid came into his life. I can't blame Jason for being upset with Ingrid, because he wanted to believe the best in her, and obviously he feeling Ingrid and stuff. He liked her and he wanted to believe the best in her. But when she told him that she purposely lied and said that Javi was the child's father, he was just angry, hurt, and disgusted by it that she would do something like that. But I think in time he will calm down and see her side of it, and he'll forgive her and stuff like that. And I'm glad Alicia forgave her. Hopefully, basically she's trying to get her job back, because Mrs. P was, thinking about giving her job back and stuff like that, because God knows she gonna need it. And I felt bad for her when she started having pains and stuff and had to go to the hospital. I really hope she not losing this baby. I hope she not. You know what I mean? Like, I really hope she not losing that kid, because you could see the hurt in her face if she, at the thought of losing this child. You could see the hurt in her face. So hopefully the child pulled through. I hope so. So anyway, moving on from that, Mrs. P. Mrs. P was the highlight of this episode for me. She was getting it in. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is a lesson. This is why you do not touch other people's things without asking. So she went into her refrigerator when she was talking to Gigi in her office, because she was asking all these questions about Mateo and this, that, and the third. And of course, Mrs. P was trying to cover up, because she didn't want to tell all the, spill all the tea about what Santiago been telling her about why he borrowed the money and why Mateo worked there. So of course she didn't want to spill it to Gigi. So she took some of Jason's cookies. And, Jason's father, of course, got the cancer, and the chemo obviously makes him nauseous and stuff, but he ain't trying to smoke no weed, of course. So Jason told him, he got some stuff that's edibles that he can eat that'll settle his stomach and his nausea. Come to find out, the cookies that Mrs. P ate were edibles. She was high as a kite. And on top of that, she had to deal with some social media influencer named Justin or whatever. He got like 4 million followers on Instagram or whatever. So, of course, they gave him a free hotel room. And he's sitting there dissing the hotel on his Instagram live and all that, because El Rey no longer is a performer at the hotel or whatever. And that's what he basically came there for, to see El Rey perform. So Mrs. P had to scramble to get him some type of tickets of entertainment or whatever. So now she high off the damn edibles and goes into the massage room where he at, into the spa, because she gave him a free coupon for the spa. And he up in there naked. She popped in there on him while he naked to give him 2 courtside tickets to the basketball game or whatever. And of course he was so ungrateful he didn't want the tickets, because he wanted to see a concert or whatever instead of a sport event. So he posted on Instagram how she came into the room while he was naked, and now they getting bad reviews and people canceling their reservations. So now Gigi got to figure out how the hell to fix the situation. Mrs. P, she was at the bar with Justin, the influencer, and she was high, still high off the edibles, sitting there on top of the bar telling him, well, since you want entertainment, I got entertainment. She busted out and started singing I'm Every Woman. And he recorded the whole damn thing of her singing I'm Every Woman. I said, oh God, thank God Gigi and Jason came and got her ass off that damn bar. I said, oh Lord have mercy. And she seen the video to that shit. Her husband was like, damn, you ain't never gave me no entertainment like that. You ain't never sang for me like that. But at least, they're getting good ratings and reviews, and, people are, signing back up for their reservations and stuff. So, but of course, she needed, Gigi went to Mateo to fix the situation, to get him some concert tickets or whatever to shut him up. Gigi slick. Gigi is super slick. Like, she is so manipulative and slick. When Jason left the penthouse and stuff, because Gigi let Mrs. P, hang out at the penthouse so that way she could come down off her high. And Mrs. P obviously is crazy high right now. She's very talkative. So Gigi used that as a means to get Mrs. P to finally tell her what Santiago is up to and why he got Mateo working at the hotel and how come Mateo is all of a sudden his right-hand man. So she's trying to use that to get dirt, like to find out what he hiding. So she tried to pretend like Santiago confided in her and told her what happened to get Mrs. P to spill the tea. So Mrs. P started telling her what was going down, how Santiago borrowed the money from some dangerous people and Mateo was a part of the deal, so he had to hire him and yada, yada, yada. I say, you is a manipulative ass woman, but I like it. Gigi, she was on it. She used that whole situation to her advantage because she knew if Mrs. P was sober, she wasn't going to tell her nothing. Just like she tried to get the information out of her before she took that edible. She wasn't telling her nothing. So she used that moment to get the truth. And I don't blame her. But I do like the fact that when Santiago finally came back after dropping Javi off at the rehab, I do like the fact that Gigi decided not to confront him about what Mrs. P told her. Because she see how, the whole Javi situation was tough on him and she didn't want to add to it. So I do respect the fact that she let it go for now. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's definitely going to bring it up in the next episode, but I like how she gave him a little bit of a reprieve right now. Because in a marriage, you do have to be honest. You know what I'm saying? I could kind of understand why Santiago wanted to keep her out of it, but she's not just your partner in life. She's also a part of the business. You know what I'm saying? And you need to tell her, But I am glad that she held off for now. But she was pissed. Can't say that I blame her. So Danny's still trying to put the pieces together about Sky, because at first he was wondering if Javi had something to do with what happened to her, but he got confirmation that Javi had nothing to do with it because Ingrid was with Javi the whole night during the hurricane, so it couldn't have been Javi because he was passed out, and Ingrid was with him the whole night. So now he got to figure out what else happened, who did something. I like him and Alicia together. I just wish that he wasn't kind of playing her. Like, it's not like he's playing her maliciously. It's just he can't tell her about who he really is and who Sky is to him. So he got to keep that quiet for now. But I do kind of like them together, though. The chemistry is there. They finally did the do tonight, which was cool. But I was thoroughly enjoying this episode. This episode was everything. Like, this whole episode, amazing. Totally amazing. But hit the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about today's episode. And I will hit y'all all later. I'll see y'all later. Peace. Have a good night.